I have friends who are in LA, and I think it's harder to make a movie in LA than it is in Cincinnati, just because of how much it costs.
Yeah.
Like the permits, the just how much expensive the talent is, locations, like everything. And so to be able to make a movie on a low budget here in Cincinnati is way more affordable, especially for an indie filmmaker who's connected.
Yo, what is up? I'm your host, Lovell Revels. Welcome back to another episode of Phresh Film Talk. Today's guest is someone who's a multi-talented. He's a award-winning director, editor, producer. He's won over 30 awards now. Would you say?
Yeah.
Hey, flex on him.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm not gonna hold you. I got Cam Marshall in the building. What's going on, Cam?
Hey, Lovell, I appreciate you having me, man. I'm excited to be here and talk about movies.
Man, me too, man. So the reason why you're here promoting the Black film series, which will highlight your film, Blackwoods. But before we get into that, tell me, how did your film journey begin? Like, where did you start at?
Yeah, absolutely. It's actually, film started for me when I was at Ball State in Muncie, Indiana. I was studying broadcast. I thought I wanted to go into television, but I was just kind of looking at the industry of TV and realizing that wasn't fulfilling me. Like, I wasn't one of those people that wanted to wear a suit every day, talk about the news, report the news. I was a storyteller at heart. I love telling stories, and I felt like I grew up always watching movies with my dad, and I never realized that you could be a filmmaker here in the Midwest. And so then I just started exploring what it would be like to write my own stories, direct my own stories, and then went to film school, and then slowly just started getting around people who were doing it and realized, this is something I should go all in for myself.
So how did Ball State help shape you as a filmmaker?
I would say Ball State really helped me just meet a variety of people. Like my friends, like we kicked it. Like I met people from all different backgrounds, and it just allowed me to grow into a man more so than just being a high school student and figuring out what I wanted to do as a career. Like I had to learn that I didn't want to do news before I found that I wanted to do film. And that's when I moved to Chicago and like really dove into like the craft of filmmaking and started making movies like with my group of friends in Chicago and working on TV sets and like coming up with YouTube shorts and like really just like grinding on what it meant to be like an indie filmmaker.
So did you move to Chicago after you graduated, or?
Yeah, so after Ball State, I moved. It's a kind of like a boomerang story. I was born in Chicago. My family moved to Indiana like right before high school. Okay. So I finished high school in Indiana, went to Ball State in Indiana, realized that there was more that I wanted to learn as far as like filmmaking, because I feel like at Ball State it was very much like the idea of filmmaking. It's like the books. It's like the old movies. You're like watching films. But I wanted to go to a hands-on program that you were actually working on sets. And this program in Chicago, they had just filmed The Dark Knight. They're in the middle of filming Empire, the TV show. Okay. And they had connections to all these different parts of the industry. So I went there and just learned what it was like to be a PA, learned what it was like to be an editor, and just learned what it was like to be a director.
So how do you go from Chicago to Cincinnati? Or was it Chicago to Cincinnati? Did you go any other places before you landed here?
It was not Chicago to Cincinnati. After Chicago, I had a real good run in Chicago for about 2-3 years, just making movies. But I hadn't directed anything yet. I was mostly editing, script supervising, helping other people make their films. But I learned a lot, and I feel like the consensus was you had to go to either New York or LA to really make it in filmmaking. So I moved to LA, and my goal was to be a film editor. I didn't want to write my own stories at that point. I just really wanted to edit and work on other people's stuff. And because I just love editing. That's my favorite part of the film process. And then that went really well. I had a lot of great opportunities, but I have a daughter who lives here in the Cincinnati area. So it was just like too far away to be a parent and be on the coast like that. So I moved to Cincinnati with the hopes of being closer in my daughter's life, which has worked out as a family aspect. And then just kind of fell in love with the film scene here. I didn't realize what was going on in Cincinnati till I got here. And then after that, it's just like hit the ground running, met other people making movies, started doing stuff like I'm doing with you, showcasing films, showcasing other people's films, and just trying to get involved and plugged in with the film culture here.
So do you feel like you can make a film here in Cincinnati and be able to break it into Hollywood? Or do you feel like, you know what, you may have to reassess some things after your daughter graduates, go to college, and maybe move somewhere else? What's your thoughts?
I think that's a great question. I think I have friends who are in LA, and I think it's harder to make a movie in LA than it is in Cincinnati just because of how much it costs.
Yeah.
Like the permits, the just how much expensive the talent is, locations, like everything. And so to be able to make a movie on a low budget here in Cincinnati is way more affordable, especially for an indie filmmaker who's connected. But then you have that hurdle of trying to get people outside of Cincinnati to support it and like it and watch it. And I feel like that's where I'm at. I think that I realize I love Cincinnati. I love making films here. I don't see myself wanting to move my company to any other city, but I want to build those connections in other cities. So I want to be like, when I wrap something, be able to call my producer friend in LA and be like, yo, I got another one for you. I'm about to fly out. I'm about to screen it for you in a theater, get ready to sell it to whoever. And so that's kind of like my goal, is to like make it here, work with people here, and then expand the vision beyond Cincinnati.
Gotcha. So you're not just a director, but you're also a writer, editor, producer. I know earlier you mentioned editing was your favorite aspect of the filmmaking process. So do you feel like that's the role you connect with the most, or do you think it's like directing or writing or producing? Because I know you wear so many hats.
Yeah, I think for me, editing will always be my first passion. When I'm not making movies, I'm editing full time for other people. I'm still editing. Like I edit for the Reds, for FC Cincinnati, for Kroger, for Crossroads.
Okay,
I've
flex on
edited
'em.
for a lot of people here in Cincinnati.
The real deal.
Yeah, and I mean, like, not to like flex, but like that is like what I'm a professional at. I do editing. I've edited other people's short films and feature films, and so for me, the other parts of filmmaking started because I miss editing films, and I realized here in Cincinnati, everyone edits their own stuff.
Yeah.
Like in other cities, in Chicago, LA, like you hire an editor. A director doesn't write their movie, direct their movie, and edit their movie. Like you have people that do those things, and like you specialize. But here, you got to be a jack of all trades. And so I realized, like, okay, if I'm going to make movies, I need to evolve. And so that's when I really started getting into writing and then getting into directing. And I feel like with each project, I've gotten better and better.
Would you prefer to be a jack of all trades where you're wearing multiple hats on a project, or would you rather just wear one hat and then be able to, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? I would just say be able to give different roles to everybody, or everybody has like one specific role, like kind of is like in Hollywood. Usually you'll see like a writer, director on some occasions, but most of the time it's like the director directs and a writer is just a writer, and then the editor is just the editor. Which aspect would you prefer?
I think it depends on the creative, and I think it depends on the project. If you look at, you know, Anora, which just won Best Picture, I mean, that director also wrote and edited the movie.
Oh, wow.
And so, and he was the first person to sweep those categories. To win Best Editing, Best Picture, Best Directing, and Best Screenplay, Original Screenplay.
Wow.
And so not everybody can do that. And not everyone should do that. I mean, you look at projects like Marvel, Superman, you know, DC films, like those big Hollywood budgets that you need someone who's really dialed in on all aspects of directing, but then you need a team of editors. So, and even films like Sinners, like Ryan Coogler doesn't edit his own films. And I think there can be some good when you have two different voices looking at the project, because you have a director vision, you have an editor vision, and they can help each other make the film better and sharpen it and choose what stays and gets cut. And so I'm at this point now where I have to edit my films out of necessity just because of the financial burden of being an independent filmmaker. But as my career expands and grows, and hopefully I get to bigger budgets and start working on things with tighter deadlines and more money, then I would love to see what the process would be like to trust my vision with another editor. But I just haven't made it there yet.
Gosh, and the word I was looking for is delegate. How do you delegate those roles?
Yeah, I think delegation is hard for a lot of people in film because they're so particular and they're so just locked in on every single thing that they want, and they don't think anyone else can execute their vision. Right. But I think the people who really make it to the highest of heights in this industry are willing to delegate, like you said, to other creatives and trust other creatives to be able to add to the vision instead of subtracting from it.
But how does a director, let's say your producer as well, how do you hire an editor to help seek that vision, to make sure your visions are aligned versus just hiring any editor to edit your movie?
Well, I would say as an editor, I can say that if you want to hire an editor to share your vision, the biggest mistake I see people make is waiting to hire the editor to the end of the process. You want to talk to your editor at the very beginning. Talk to him in the script stage because he could give you feedback as an editor on the script of like, oh, well, if you write it this way, that's going to cut together with this scene. And then when you move to your blocking stage and your storyboard stage, your editor can give you feedback again of like, okay, well, if you do this camera angle, then that'll give me a chance to cut to this and cut to that. And we can really like storyboard this together. And I think a lot of people do the script writing, they do the directing, and then they go find someone that they just want to dump all the pieces on who hasn't been a part of your vision from the very beginning. But if you start at the beginning, then you guys can craft, what you want together, speak the same language. So by the time you get to the computer and the editing chair, he has months or weeks or however long you guys have been working on this project to know exactly what you want and to be able to execute it well.
Speaking about execute it well, let's talk about Blackwoods. So let's talk about like what inspired the story and how much of it was drawn from a real life experience.
Yeah, when you watch the movie, it says based on a real Black experience. and that's true. Shout out to my homie T. Tristan. He runs this company called The Healing, and it is essentially a Black-owned just therapeutic company where they specialize in yoga and good vibes, positive energy, and healing for specifically Black men. And so I was invited on this retreat with probably about 15 to 20 other Black men. And the only person I knew was my brother who was friends with most of the guys. And we went to Asheville, North Carolina. And this was probably about 5 months after our dad had passed away. Oh, wow. So at that time, I was still processing my grief from losing my first parent. And my brother who lives in LA, we hadn't spent a lot of time together. So I was like, oh, this feels like a good time for us to catch up, spend some time together, get away from work and just enjoy the outdoors. And that experience was just dope. It was just getting to do things in spaces that I feel like are typically looked at as white spaces, like hiking and yoga and just being vulnerable with a bunch of guys that were there for the same purpose. And I was kind of thinking like, man, like this would be a dope movie because like even as we were walking trails, like you see like 15 Black guys walking a trail and the white people would look at us and be like, are y'all a football team? like what are y'all doing out here? Like, Black people like to be out in nature too. And I think that's what inspired this movie because a lot of times you see a group of Black men, especially in nature, you're waiting for them to die. You're waiting for a serial killer to show up and to kill them. And a lot of people actually thought Blackwoods was a horror film. So in the beginning, we actually like start that tension out where you're like, oh man, what's about to happen to these guys? And then you start to see that there's really nothing to be afraid of and that getting out in nature is therapeutic for everybody.
So I'm curious to like what was your thoughts as a black man on mental health before going on that retreat? Because usually
Mm-hmm.
in our community, I would say maybe like 7 years ago, we would look at someone that sees a therapist as like, are you crazy?
Yep.
Like, what
Yep.
are you like? Nah, I don't need therapy. What are you talking about? I'm not a nut. So what's your thought on mental health today in our
Mm-hmm.
community? And why do you think more black men should seek out some type of counseling or mental health therapist?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a great question. I would say early on, I would say my mental health was pretty much, don't show any weakness, don't
Hmm.
show any vulnerability. The Black Mamba mentality, if you're familiar with Kobe Bryant,
Oh
like
yeah.
always grind, always be unflappable in the face of adversity, and like you never let them see you sweat. Because the moment you show weakness, that's the moment you're gonna lose. And
Mm.
that mentality is great on the basketball court, but when you step off the court, who are you as a man? Like, who are you when you're going through really difficult things? And I would say, as someone who found my faith and worked for church, that um, putting my trust in Jesus really changed that, because he says that his strength is made perfect in our weakness.
Okay.
And so allowing yourself to be vulnerable and be weak and admit that you don't have it all together allows Christ to come into the situation and build you back up.
Mm.
And so I think for me, that opened the door to start realizing that there are things that I need to work on for myself. There's things that I need to grow in to be a better father, to be a better husband, to be just a better person in general, not only for other people, but for myself. So I think going on that experience showed me that, one, you can't do life alone, and that's a big theme of this movie. That brothers are meant to carry each other's burdens, and that community is better than isolation. And then the other thing is just that talking about your mental health can not only set you free, but others free to do the same.
Okay. And then the setting of this movie is in Kentucky's Red River
Gorge.
Gorge. Okay. So that's almost like a character itself. Why did you choose this location, and how did nature influence the tone of the film?
Yeah. So, being true to Cincinnati, I wanted to film somewhere that was like Cincinnati adjacent.
Okay.
So Red River Gorge, like if you live here, I feel like there's two places that people travel to.
Mhm.
It's the Hocking Hills and Red River Gorge
Okay.
to get that nature experience, because they're only about an hour and a half, 2 hours apart from where we are.
Okay.
And so I having gone there a few times before, it's not quite Asheville, North Carolina, but like the the hills and the hiking, the mountains in Kentucky are very overlooked, and it's just beautiful. It's just so much green. It's just an environment that feels peaceful, and it feels transcendent above just like a normal city urban environment. And so it's a character in itself, the same way that like New York City is a character and Do the Right Thing. Like
Hmm.
the same way Chicago is a character in Empire. Like these
Okay.
cities, you see urban people dropped in. You're constantly seeing how they interact with the city, the movements of the city. And I wanted to put five black characters in a nature environment and it be different, because you see their chocolate skin tones
Mm.
masked up with the earth and the ground, but with the tall green trees.
Yeah.
And we shot this in a 4x3 setting so that the trees look taller and bigger, and it's cropped in a way that makes you feel like you are walking in this like trail with them. And
Okay.
and I think something as far as just like embracing nature is a big part of the film. And without, just a place that is beautiful with really open green spaces, you would miss that.
Mm. And then this film focuses on five men confronting their inner demons. How did you approach writing the dialogue and character arcs and keeping the story fresh and authentic and grounded?
Yeah, I typically I write from my own experience. So I would say each one of these characters has a personal touch from me in it, and a point in my life of something that I was going through. Like there's two brothers that arrived there. One that they had both just lost their dad. And that was kind of like what me and my brother was working through. Like I said earlier, when we went on this experience. There's another guy who's the lead character who's struggling with his thoughts around adoption and the type of father he wants to be, which was something that I was going through at the same time. And then you got other guys that I just felt like rounded the story out because of either their church baggage or their insecurities around finding themselves in the corporate sphere of climbing the corporate ladder, and what does it mean to be a black man and try to have it all together to go through the life of always feeling like you got to be on the defense because people are out to get you, but then also, hit those same measures of building a family, building a career, and being somebody that is growing in their role in society. And so I just try to make it fun. I try to make it light. I try to make it something that if you watch these people, you really latch on to who they are in this storyline, and you see that they're struggling with real things. You see that they care about each other, but they also know how to joke with each other. Okay. And it makes you feel like, man, I would want to be at that retreat with those guys, drinking a beer, playing spades, and having real conversations.
Man, that sounds like a time to be had. For sure. I won't mind doing that too. So I'm going to ask you this question.
Yeah.
No pressure. Well, there is pressure. You got to deliver some gold on this one. All right. So what do you hope audiences, especially black men, walk away after watching Blackwoods?
Real simple, that nobody should do life alone. I think that right now, black men have the highest growing rate for suicide in the country. Men in general say that 1 in 4 men have at least one friend that they could call if something was going wrong in their life.
Okay.
And so this movie aims to tackle those stereotypes of that, I am a lone wolf and I can do it all on my own. I don't need nobody else,
Yeah.
It's just a facade that isn't true for anybody, because at some point you're going to need somebody to lean on. Iron sharpens iron. You're going to need somebody to tell you when you are struggling that there's better, there's hope, there's something to be positive about, encouragement to keep going, just someone to sit with you when life sucks, when you have a bad day or something tragic happens. And I think too often we as men don't think about building those relationships until it's too late, until we get depressed, until something bad does happen. So I just hope that people watch this movie and they start thinking about, who can I call to be that person in my life, and who can I show up for that I maybe haven't talked to in a while, that I need to make sure that they're okay and check on.
Okay. Definitely deliver some gold there for sure. So I hope, audience, if you guys are watching, pay attention to what he just said, man. If you're feeling down and out, give somebody a call. Talk to somebody about it. Talk to a close friend about it, especially black men. As he mentioned, at least we have one person we can count on. So talk to someone, and then, hey, if you have the chance, call someone. You just check on them. Make sure their mental health is okay. Make sure they're okay, because you never know. You know what I mean? You don't want to go to someone's funeral saying, "What if?"
Yeah, absolutely.
Alrighty. Well, let's talk about faith, film, and impact. So,
okay.
Your work often carries messages of hope, redemption, and faith. How do you integrate those things without feeling preachy or forced?
Yeah, I think for me, it's come through growth of being a storyteller and learning what it's like to talk about Jesus and about the Bible in a language that people can understand. I think a lot of times thing comes off as preachy or forced because we expect everybody to be in the church. We expect everybody to know the same stories about different characters in the Bible that we feel like are normal. But like, if you're not living that life, you don't know those sayings. You don't know what it means to be in the faith. So I try to take what I feel like is my own stories or stories around me and how I see God moving in people, and create backdrops and stories that allow his light to shine through. And so whenever I sit down to think about a story I want to tell, I ask myself two questions. One, what does it say about God? And two, what does it say about Black people? Because I feel like in film and in TV shows, like the way Black people are represented can be very niche. It can be very one-sided. It can be very ghetto. It can be very
like stereotypical.
Very stereotypical. Yeah. Just because there's not a lot of voices that get elevated that are different. It's not that those stereotypes are bad or negative. If that's someone's experience, that's someone's experience. But there's also more experiences, especially in the Black community. So I try to bring that diversity of thought into my pieces and also bring in, like you said, something that has a faith impact as well.
So when you make like a faith-based film, so are you like unapologetically, I'm going to put God into this? Or is it like, okay, how can I make sure I have a message about your faith, about God, about Jesus, without offending someone that may not believe in your religion?
Well, one, I never worry about offending someone who doesn't believe in my religion because if they don't believe, they don't believe. And I think that's their choice. And so I typically don't create things that condemn people and shame people. So I'm never really worried about that. I'm more so highlighting the hope through struggle and through breakthrough and through Jesus showing up in people's lives. And it's like anything else in film, you can choose to accept it or you can choose to reject it. And so for me, I think I don't always sit down and think, oh, well, this is exactly what I want to say about God. Sometimes I just think of like a really good story and then I start writing it out and I'm like, oh, all right, what does this say about God? And I'm like, it actually doesn't really say anything. It's like, well, do I want to produce this or do I just want to realize this is a good story, but this doesn't fit my brand?
Yeah.
And so sometimes there are stories that I started working on that didn't end up making it to script form because I just couldn't find the angle for it. So that's kind of where I'm at. It's like it has to be a story I love, a story that I feel like is entertaining, and then a story that relates to God.
Gotcha. All right, well, let's talk about production and recognition. So as we mentioned earlier, over 30 film festival awards. So is that cap or is that just like that's the real deal?
That's the real deal. You can look it up on IMDb, Internet Movie Database, Cam Marshall Film, and you can see the different awards I've won. I've now got 3 movies that have all won awards. The first 2 being the most prominent, Holy Zombie, a short film, and then Freaky Profiling, a feature film that's on Tubi and Amazon right now.
I love Freaky.
And then Blackwoods won Best Original Screenplay at the Catalana Film Festival in Dayton, Ohio. So
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so what would you say has been the most memorable recognition moment so far?
Yeah, I would say 2. I would say for Holy Zombie winning Best Comedy and Best Short Film at the New York Film Awards was huge. Winning Best Romantic Comedy and Best Short Film at the LA Short Film Awards was also at the IMDb LA Short Film Awards were huge. But I would say my most proud one is winning Best Black Experience Film at the festival, the World Festival de Cannes in France.
Okay.
And so that was like that. Yeah, that was a big one. It's not the Cannes Film Festival that you know of that all the people premiere in, but it's the World Cannes Film Festival, which is another festival within the same city and country. And the fact that they, in such a prominent film region, highlighted our movie as the best Black culture experience film was a big deal for us. And so that's probably the number one.
That's what's up, man. So you're not just a state award-winning filmmaker, you're not just a national award-winning filmmaker, but you're international.
International. Worldwide.
And how long have you been making films?
I started my first movie in 2021.
2024 years.
Yeah, so we've been grinding. I made Holy Zombie January 21, Freaky Profiling January of 2022, and then we made Blackwoods in May of 2023.
Man, I see nothing but success for you, man. You just right, we're right here, right now, and I feel like, man, you through the roof, man.
I
But
appreciate that. I
speaking
appreciate it.
about that, so tell us about Here and See Production. So, what's your vision for the company? How do you see it growing in the next few years?
Man, I have so many just goals and visions for what I want Here and See Productions to be. Originally, we started as a faith-based video ministry that was helping churches create social media content and videos for their services at a discounted rate. Then we started making affordable wedding videos, and then that's when I launched it probably around 2017, 2018.
Mm-hmm.
So I was doing that for about 3 years, and then we moved into filmmaking. And that was always the goal. I wanted to be able to make my own films. And now I think the vision is to make it beyond myself. Like I want to get to a place where it's a production house that you can look forward to 2 to 3 movies a year. Maybe they're directed by me. Maybe they're directed by someone else. Maybe we find someone's script who's really talented that we feel aligns with our vision as a inspirational film company, and we pour money into them. We market them. We help sell them to distributors, get them on streaming services, and they're a part of our ecosystem of a Here and See production. So that's the goal long term, is to be able to make films that are profitable, not just to fund my films, but then to find other filmmakers who have a like-minded storytelling concept and fund theirs as well.
Gotcha. So I'm a filmmaker. So just for the filmmakers that's out there that's watching this, how do I go about getting on like an Amazon or a Tubi? Like, what routes did you have to go? Did you have to go through a distributor to get to that route?
Yeah.
Or what's the journey like that for? Like,
I think it depends on your project. Short films are a little difficult compared to feature films. So I would say my short film is on YouTube, and I use that more so for festival awards and for showcasing. When it comes to my feature films, those are a little bit harder to showcase because, you're talking about getting people to sit down and watch your movie for 60 minutes, 90 minutes.
yeah.
It's harder to get into festivals with such a long piece because that block of your 90 minutes takes up about 4 or 5 short films that could have been in that block.
Right.
And so if you want to go on to streaming services, you can either, reach out to like Apple TV and Google Play, or you can find distributors who will lobby your film for you, and they will help get you in front of eyes of places like Tubi and Roku and see if it's a good fit. And I would say the easiest route to go is Film Hub.
Okay.
They're the biggest one because anyone can submit to Film Hub, and then they basically will do all the submission process for you to whatever streaming services that they feel like your film fits. But there's all types of other distributors out there that you can link up with who can do the same thing. It's just making sure you find someone who's going to give you a good and fair, honest deal, because there's some people that will kind of, I wouldn't say scam you, but if anyone asks for money up front to lobby your film, then just walk away. Because there are people out there that would say, hey, if you give me $20,000, you give me $10,000, I will take your film and I will pitch it to XYZ film company to put it on Apple TV, put it on Netflix. And it's just like, if it sounds too good to be true, it's too good to be true. Like nobody is asking for money up front if they believe in your film, because the money you're going to make on the back end after the film is uploaded should be everything that everyone needs to break even.
Excellent. He just dropped some gems right there. So if you're a filmmaker trying to get your film on Tubi, Apple TV, Amazon Prime, listen to my guy right here. And then if someone asks for that money up front, say, no way, Jose.
No way.
So speaking about being a filmmaker as well, let's talk about like putting a team together. So like for me, sometimes, most of the times, it feels like it's a very daunting task. It's like, okay, I'm putting my team together, trying to get personalities to match up. Sometimes they match up, sometimes they don't. So like, what is your process like to make sure you have the successful team put together where there's no mishaps, everybody's on the same page?
Yeah, I would say it's unrealistic to think there won't be mishaps. There's always mishaps. In my last 2 feature films, I've had 3 producers on those films, and in each film, I had a producer quit before the project finished.
Oh wow.
And it's just like people think they want to be in film. People think that film is fun, it's exciting. Oh, we're gonna be on set making a movie, but then you get in the grind of producing a feature length film, and it starts to become hard work.
Yeah.
And you're not getting paid what you get paid in Hollywood because this is a small budget indie film.
Yeah.
And people tap out; they don't want to do it anymore. And so that happens. Things happen with locations. Things happen with actors. And so I would tell any filmmaker that as you're putting a team together, be flexible, be willing to pivot, because if something happens in someone's life, like, don't make it personal on you. Remember, the goal is to finish the project. So whatever you need to do, whether it's hiring someone else, letting someone go, whatever you need to do to move forward to finish the project is the point. It's not about keeping friends and being besties throughout this whole experience, because it is hard, it is difficult, and you want people who are going to ride with you, who are going to support you, who's going to grind it out and make it to the end. And not everyone will, and that's okay. And I think realizing that as a filmmaker has freed me up to just realize that, hey, this is a business, this is art, this is creativity. I want everyone to enjoy being on set with me, but I also understand that the pace that we move it and how we are working isn't for everybody.
It's not for the faint of heart.
It's not. Filmmaking is challenging. I'm gonna tell you, it's a grind. It ain't as easy as it looks.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's look ahead. Let's talk about how do you define success as a filmmaker? Is it the rewards, or is it the awards? Is it like the audience impact? Is it the spiritual reach, or maybe is it something else?
This is a tough one for me because I'm always critical of myself. Like, I set really high bars when it comes to my art and my work and goals. And like my first feature film, we didn't make the money back that I expected to make. Like, I expected it to really like just blow up in the financial sense. And my wife is constantly reminding me of like, did you make this movie to make money, or did you make this movie to impact people? And then we're always talking about, different police officers that come up to me and it's like, dude, man, I watched your movie, and like my wife and I were like blown away, and like more people need to see this. Or Black people that watch Blackwoods, and it's like, my husband is crying because he just doesn't know how to open up and share his emotions with me, and this movie made him realize he needs to do that. And it's like, it's like it hits me that there's so much more to filmmaking than just being successful at a box office or successful in streaming. And I feel like a lot of times when people are like, oh, you make movies, the first thing they want to do is Google me. They be like, oh, like, let me see how famous you are. And it's like, then they're like, oh, well, you're not famous, you're not a filmmaker. And I'm like, does everybody who make music famous? Like, is everybody who's a painter well known? Like, you can make movies and not make movies that are in theaters. And I think for the vast majority of people, they define success as like, if you don't have a movie that I can sit in AMC and buy popcorn to, then it's a failure. And so for me, I think if you have an idea and you make a script and you're able to finish that script with a full production and have a polished, finished product that you're able to show to friends, family, theater, whatever, then it's success. Because there's so many people that have so many film ideas that never get made. And people don't realize how long it takes to make a movie. Like, I have an idea now that we may not shoot until 2026, which then it may not be edited and done until 2028. Wow. And so to have that done and be out and share it with people, that's a success. And the fact that you didn't sit on it and you found the money, you found the people, you found the time and the resources to make it happen. Right. Anything after that is a bonus. If it blows up, if you get a bunch of views on YouTube, if you get a theater release, you get 60 awards, you get 5 awards. Like, all of that is extra. The fact that you made the movie is the success to me.
Yeah, and I'll piggyback on that. Making the movie And then also when you premiere your movie to an audience, my goal is like have the audience like asking questions about it. You know what I mean? Like I used to
Absolutely.
get like nervous, be like, think about the little small stuff, not really small, but like, okay, are they gonna critique the sound? Are they gonna critique like the
Mm-hmm.
color grade not matching a particular scene? But they look sometimes most of the time they'll look past that and they'll just say, hey, like one of my films that I written and produced called Power of Music. And then someone came up to me, and I screened it for the first time, and I was like super duper nervous. Like, how are people going to interpret this film because it has a lot of profanity in
Mm-hmm.
it, and it has killing in it, and I don't want them to like misinterpret like how I view black people or what the wording I'm trying to get in this film misconstrued. But it was a success because they were able to ask questions. They were able to say, "Hey, I really enjoyed this film," and it really sparked a debate, and it asked a lot of questions like, "Does music influence the youth from
Mm.
a negative standpoint as far as like violence and killing and
That's a
other
dope
things?"
idea.
Yeah.
Where can I see this film at?
Um.
Is it on YouTube?
Yeah. It's not on YouTube. When are we gonna? We might premiere it again at our film festival, which is called the Two Fresh Film Fest. So it
Fresh
might,
Film Fest. I
yeah. So
like
we
that.
might premiere it again there. But
Is
yeah,
it a feature? Is it short?
it's a short film. It's about 15 minutes long.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But it's really really nice film. I was kind of nervous. I was really nervous because I only premiered it one time. It was pretty much like a red carpet premiere for the people that were part of it.
Mm-hmm.
They really enjoyed it, but
Yeah.
it was just like that's a different aspect of making of people that made the film and showing it to people that had no process in making the film and it's just up for grabs for your critique.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that, man.
Thanks, appreciate that. So enough about me. What kind of
Hey, you
story?
gotta flex on them too, man.
Hey, I'm still trying to get my way up, man. I'm still trying to get my way up, man. I'm not trying to get like you, man. I'm trying to get like you,
Hey,
man. Trying
well,
to,
here I am on your show. So
yeah. Hey, go different avenues. Yeah, different journeys, but hey, maybe we'll make it at the same time, but one of us has to make it and we can uplift each
absolutely.
other and influence each other to get to where we need to go. All right. So what kind of stories are you hoping to tell next? Any like upcoming projects we should be aware of or keep eye out for?
Well, absolutely. Blackwoods going on streaming services. I would say look out for that. Either end of this summer or this fall. You'll be
Okay.
able to watch it on Amazon, Tubi. And so I'm really wanting people to check that out. But as far as like what I'm creating next, oh
Yeah.
man, I got some super heat. I'm super excited for this next project. It's a short film. We just started pre-production on. I just put my producing team together,
Mm-hmm.
and it's called Happy Sorrows. And it's unlike anything I've ever written or directed. And I think it's going to be one of those films that could really catapult me into the next stage of filmmaking and to open up some doors, not just here in Cincinnati, but in LA and in other festivals that I'm trying to take it to.
Okay. Let's circle back on like Tubi Amazon thing. So you have
Yeah.
Freaky Profiling that's already on Tubi and Amazon,
Mhm.
right?
Correct.
So is it really profitable to put your movie out on those streaming platforms? I know a lot of
Mhm.
people they say, hey, put it out on Tubi. Tubi's gonna pay the most, but well, from your experience, do you feel like it's like okay, it's like I could make a movie and live off making movies by putting it on Tubi and Amazon, or is it like, hey, I might want to keep my day job for right now until I make it
Yeah.
big in Hollywood?
Okay, so that's a deep question with a lot of variables to it. So, in my professional experience, I would say the odds of one movie feeding you on Tubi and Amazon are very low. No, the same way the odds of one song on Spotify or Apple Music is going to feed you. You need to really start making money as an artist, as a musician. You need to have several songs, several albums that people can go through and play over and over and over again. And movies are the same way. So if you can get one or two movies on there, that's good.
Mhm.
But I see people who do this for a living and they quit their day jobs, they got 7, 8, 9, 10 movies on there. And each movie is giving you a check per month that is adding up to continue feeding the cycle of making movies. And so it really comes down to your audience, what platform is best for you, because, you know, there's a certain style of movie that does really well on Tubi. And I realized that, like, when I was dropping my film in these like Tubi groups, because there's a lot of just like groups on Facebook that are looking to support Tubi movies. But the movies they want to watch are the bad movies. Like, they're not there to watch really high quality movies. They want to watch the movies that's like, oh, I can tell that person cut around that camera turned off, that actor don't know what he's doing. Yeah. They want to laugh at stuff on there. So I realized, like, my market probably ain't going to be on Tubi. But I made more money on Tubi than I did on Amazon. And that's also just because it's easier to get people to watch it on Tubi because there's no paywall. Because you can sign in for free. Yep. They have to watch commercials, and you get paid not by the views, you get paid by the amount of commercials that people watch.
Oh, wow.
And so that starts to add up with the runtime. Whereas like Amazon, you pay $1, $5 if you're not on their main channel included with their Prime subscription, then people have to pay every single time they watch your movie, or they pay once and they own your movie. So like, say someone pays, you know, $7 to own your movie. They could watch it 30 times, but you only gonna get $7 from that because they already own it. And so it really got to figure out the pay model that works best for you. And I see a lot of people where you actually get the most money is from YouTube. You get more money off of building out a paywall YouTube channel. I would say for most people, I wouldn't say everybody, but from the people I've talked to, if you can build up a really strong YouTube channel where people know to come and watch your films, know to come and watch your work, and you got, let's say, 40,000, 50,000 subscribers, and you drop a movie on YouTube, it's all right there, and they watch it, and they all spend, you know, $3 on your movie, like the profit margins off of that versus trying to reel in new viewers every single time on Tubi is very different. And so I think it depends on if you're somebody that can build an audience, if you're somebody that can build, you know, a variety of content. So you have like a catalog of movies, or if you're someone that is a first-time filmmaker that is just hoping to strike lightning in bottle, upload it somewhere and just have it go viral. Because there's always that example that, like, if it goes viral, then everything I said is out the window because you've just been chosen as the movie that people are going to watch and love and give you money.
Hey, audience out there, I need you to share this channel, share this platform with your friends, family, whoever. Make sure they subscribe. Let's get me up to at least 1,000 subscribers so I can start getting monetized and I can start putting my films on this channel and we can start making some money.
I'm telling, and that's what I think people miss is a lot of people try to market their movies and make money off their movies. But I see people like you who market themselves and build their own channel. And then because people like you, they watch your movies, that's the people that really make it last and can do this full time. And so that's what I'm trying to do as well. If you go to my YouTube channel, Here and See Productions, then you can see behind the scenes from all of my movies. You can see me doing my podcast episodes where I call Hear and See Stories, where I tell you what it's like to work with actors on set, how to find music for your movie, what it's like to make your movie for festivals. I just give you just kind of what we're doing here, but talk more about what it's like to be an independent filmmaker and the things that I'm learning along the way in my journey.
That was a nice segue, man. You hype me up and then you spin it back to plug yourself. That's what's up, man. I love it. All right. Is there anything else you want to let the audience know before we wrap up?
Anything else I want to let the audience know? Yeah. Man, I would just say, just join me on this filmmaking journey. One thing I like to do, like I was just saying, is I like to highlight every step along the way. So follow me on Instagram, follow me on Twitter, at Cam Marshall Film or at Hear and See. And you'll see just like our behind the scene photos, interviews with cast members, my DP, my producers, because I like to show everybody's experience around me as we're working to build something together so that by the time the movie comes out, then you're excited for it because you feel like you've been watching us go from script stage to production stage to editing stage to now the full release and the premieres. And so I know a lot of people like to hold everything and be like, oh, I'm gonna drop this out of the blue. And it's like, bruh, ain't no one been following you to know what you're working on. So I really like to tap into people who are into films, who love this industry like I do. And so if you're someone that likes to just talk about movies and see what it's like to make a movie and support my journey, then I would appreciate any follow, any shares, any just interaction in general.
100. 2 more questions. I know we're about to wrap up, but I got 2 more questions for you, then we'll wrap up. So if you could summarize your mission as a filmmaker in 1 sentence, what would it be?
My mission as a filmmaker is to help others hear and see the goodness of God. I think films are a powerful vehicle for telling stories, and that's my goal, to help others hear and see.
And then finally, what does Black film mean to you?
I've never thought about that.
You mean this is the hardest question out of all the questions I didn't ask you? This is the one.
Because to me, I think, all right, so there's movies, right? That like you watch this and you're like, oh, that's a Black film. It's got Black actors in it. It's got Black directors. But then you watch a movie like Black Panther, Sinners. Does those feel like Black films?
I'll consider those Black
or
films.
do they just feel like movies with Black people in them?
That's a great question. I feel like they're Black films.
Okay,
they're Black films, yeah, for sure.
So I feel like Black films sometimes can be looked at as like the Fridays and the lower budget stuff. That's like, oh yeah, look at Black people cutting up.
See, okay, we had a discussion about this. I feel like you have Black films and then you have hood classics. So I would consider
that part. Okay,
I would consider Friday to be a Black film, but also a hood classic. But I mean, it could be up for interpretation if you want to consider Black Panther a Black film, but maybe not so a hood classic. I mean, I feel like that's pretty much up for that's subjective.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
So a hood classic, I feel like, has to depict the hood in some way. You have to be a part of, like, it has to be showcased, or else like, how's it gonna be a hood classic if we in Wakanda?
Yeah, but then you have Scarface, and I feel like Scarface is considered a hood classic.
I can see, yeah, and that's not in the hood. Like, that's a good point.
Back in the 2000s when they had MTV Cribs, like every rapper you saw on there, they always had the movie Scarface on there.
That's true. Yeah, I get that. Well, so then this is why what is Black film is complex. I think for me, I think Black films are just a lens into the Black experience.
Okay.
I think I try to cast Black faces in my movie because I want people to see Black people in different lights. Like, I love the movie Boomerang by Eddie Murphy because that was one of the first movies where I saw like successful Black people like wearing suits and being in business and being in things beyond the hood. And even the same with Coming to America. Like, before Wakanda, you had this fictional place of people coming to America to be royalty. And I feel like you didn't see that a lot, and especially early 90s movies. Like, people were like, I want to go to Zamunda. I want to be a part of their culture. And so I think, there is a responsibility with Black films to make sure it's accurate and make sure you're sharing authentic story, a real story, and it's not just stereotypical because that's what the world wants to see, but it's also just a lens to be able to share your experience with other people. And so that's what I try to do when I am writing stories that feature Black characters.
That's what's up. All right, well, you can catch the short version of Blackwoods at the Black Film Series here in Cincinnati, Ohio, Thursday, June 5th at the Forest Park Branch Library. And thank you for tuning in on another episode of Phresh Film Talk. I want to thank Cam Marshall for joining us today. And don't be a stranger, man. You know, come back to the show, man. We gotta have more conversations like this. We could talk about stuff like, you know, we could talk a little bit more about black film versus hood classics and so on and so
Hey,
forth.
I'm down. I'm always down to talk about movies. So whenever you want me to come back, let me know. And I'm telling you, when Happy Sorrows comes, it's gonna be a film that I really want to share with people. So I'll come back and talk about that too.
Absolutely. And make sure you comment, like, subscribe, and hit that notification here. Oh, excuse me. Let me run that back. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell like a backhand smack. And always remember, stay fly, stay humble, and stay fresh. Peace.